Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to take a look at how we can modify a 3D Megascan asset. So what you're seeing here is a modification that I did from this. This is the original file straight out of the library and it's what we're going to be using. I think it's a handrail, the end of a handrail for a staircase, and let's get started. Now, the way that you load a model from the 3D library is by going to setup, and instead of plane, you just have to choose 3D asset, and that should take you into the local library and you'll be able to find the asset you need. In this case, I'm using this handrailed end post in case you want to follow along. That's it. Let me get this file ready to start from scratch. Once you load your model, it's going to look exactly like what you're seeing here. I have absolutely everything by default so far. And what I'm going to do, the first thing is to add a surface layer. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to look for granite rocks. All right, now what we have here is our granite rug. It's looking very nice. And actually you can use this right out of the box, but right now it just looks like we just threw some different material on top of it. You could get by with this because it has some nice displacement and some nice changes around here, but we want to get a little bit more in depth. So what we can do is we can actually start adding decals. So the decals are something that you can easily manipulate and use in order to kind of break up the pattern of a texture so it doesn't look like you just added a new material. So I'm going to load this one. And it just loaded across all of this, and actually it's looking very, very nice. And as you can see, it is breaking all that, because if I turn it on and off, you can see that it does break that apart. So there's a couple of things that I want to do, because I don't want this to have this pattern that it's having all around here. And the reason for that, it's because it is tiling. So in order to change that, and in order to see what's up, you can always use, I use the number 9 key to go into my layer mask. And you can always go over here where it says placement. This is usually like this. Just click this drop down menu and you'll be able to see what kind of projection you're doing. And right now it's doing a box projection. That's why it's kind of tiling all around the UVs. And it's not looking bad. I just want this to be very specific, and I want it to manipulate it myself. I don't want the program to choose where to place the specific decal. So in order for this to happen, I have to choose freeform. It's right here. And on freeform, we can actually move this decal however we want. And it's also depending on the UVs. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm actually going to scale it down a little bit, and I'm going to rotate it this way. And let's see if we can offset it. Like that. Let's see how it looks in the material. Actually, it looks really, really nice. So we have one nice breakup over here, and you can see there's even some bump around here, and it's doing pretty good. So as we turn our light over on this way, this is also affecting this part, and I like the placement of that piece. We could add a duplicate of this same decal and we can just spread it around and it would really help, but I want to add something else. So let's just use another decal. Let's try with this one. Okay. And it's doing the same thing. It loads it as a box projection. That's why it's like splattered all around. And I want this to be actually here where we have one big empty space. So let me just turn the light this way so we can see what's going on. I'm going to turn on my mask. And what I'm going to do is I am going to switch this from box projection into freeform. And right now, I think I lost it. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to bring our decal to the other side. And we do that by just using the offset here. Sometimes depending on the UVs, it will cross into a place where you're not expecting. So by the way, if you wanted to see the UVs, you can hit the letter M and it's going to show you the UVs. So hit the letter M again to go back. And I think this is where I want it. I actually want to make it like this. Let's rotate it a little bit. We can even put it here. I think it fits well this way over on this side. Kind of like it broke off of here. And as you can see, as I move my decal, it's actually changing the surface. So the displacement from the decal is affecting the asset underneath. So let me see. I think here it's fine. The other thing that you can do is you can affect the displacement. So you can have the displacement strength here. Let's do something crazy like 8. And you can see this is just too much, but I just wanted to get the point across so you guys can see what was going on. Maybe we could do something like 4, which is not as pronounced. And you can always invert the source of the displacement map. That's just going to invert the displacement map and give you kind of like a different outcome. However, I do like how it's looking this way. Maybe we'll make it smaller. Okay, the other thing that you can do is you can always change the tint if you wanted to match the color that you have underneath. So I'm gonna push it more towards the yellows so it actually looks like it belongs here. I'm gonna go ahead over here and do the same with this part. Although this part actually looks really nice because it looks like it peeled off the first layer of concrete and now it's showing what's underneath, kind of like it had different layers of concrete. So I really like that. Now let's add a third decal to do what I had before on the intro, that I had like a splatter over here. It really changes the silhouette of our asset a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is go to decals. I'm gonna add one of these, concrete patch. Again, it's all around, just like our other decals. I'm actually going to go here, freeform, number 9 to see where is at. And I'm going to start playing with this until I can get it on top. And like I said, depending on the UVs, you probably have to move the X and Y. Now, if I go back to my material, you're gonna see that I have my decal here on top, and it's actually changing a little bit of the silhouette of this sphere. So I'm just going to push it up into the top and maybe scale it down. So let's do 0.6. And there you go. Now it's looking like there's a splash of concrete or limestone on top of our sphere. And another thing that I want to do is make this a little bit darker. Just a little bit, very subtle. Now the other thing that I want to add is a little bit of sand accumulation around the cavities. So sand will usually accumulate around the cavities. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into surface layer. We're gonna search for sand debris. It's this one right here. All right, and now as you can see, I'm using it right on top of everything. There's a reason for that. I'm just gonna go here, add a mask. Now I'm gonna use a curvature. By the way, if you're new to this, there's a playlist down in the description, so you can start up right away with Mixer. What we need to do is we need to define how that curvature is used as a mask. So I'm gonna go and hit number 9 so I can see the mask, and we're gonna start playing with the levels of our masks. So one side makes it darker, the other side makes it lighter. I'm actually gonna go probably this way. Or we could even make it easier on ourselves instead of playing with the levels, and we can go straight away into cavities only. There you go. Now it's presenting us with all the cavities. And the main reason why I'm doing this on top is because right now it's actually using my decals, as you can see. If I didn't have this on top, then it wouldn't use the curvature from the decals. That's why it's really important, the place where you have your layers. Now let me play with this a little bit, because again, I just want some sand accumulation in the crevices. Let's see how it's looking. All right, and there you go. That's what I'm looking for, to be a little bit of sand accumulation in those cracks. Probably tighten it up a little bit, and we may have to change the albedo so it doesn't look as bright. There you go. All right, the next thing that we're going to add is mossy ground. So add another one here. Let's look for a mossy ground. I have two. I'm going to use this one. And just like everything, it's going to cover my whole thing. And actually, I do like how it looks up here. So one thing we can do, if you like what you're seeing in a specific place, one thing we can do is we could add a mask. And we're gonna do a position gradient. That gradient is right now going from top to bottom, so you can see. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the range. So I'm gonna mask everything but what's on top, because I really like how it looks on that sphere. And I'm gonna make it not as soft. Let's see how it's looking. There you go. That looks pretty nice. That looks some pretty nice accumulation of moss on the top. Now let's duplicate this layer. Let's get rid of that mask. And we're gonna make another layer mask to kind of scatter this moss around a little bit better. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scale this up. All right, I'm gonna add a layer mask, and for this I'm going to actually add some noise. So it's not all around, and in order to see what's going on with your noise, you can always do number 9, and we can change this around a little bit. So I'm gonna do the amplitude a little bit higher, so it's not as fade out. I'm gonna increase the frequency to around here, and I'm gonna increase the octaves. So the octaves are really useful to break up that smoothness that we have right here. It, like right now, it just looks like we applied a random noise without any care whatsoever. So we just hit number 9, and the octaves will allow us to make it look at least more believable, because of those little details you can see around here. So I'm gonna do like this, maybe. We can do change the frequency and change the amplitude. Okay, I like the way this is looking a little bit better. And one thing, because we already had moss on top, right now it's kind of having double moss and it's damaging our assets. So when you have these problems around here, you may want to just disable the displacement, because we want it for color, we don't want it for displacement. And if you didn't want that extra moss on top on the sphere, you can always add another layer. So we can click here and we can paint a mask. So we remove the influence on this part. So you can always toggle the mask, and that will help you. And that way you don't have double of that particular surface. By the way, if you have a Wacom tablet, or it doesn't have to be Wacom, but anything that it's a drawing tablet that you can use for your computer, that's very useful. Even if you're a programmer, I recommend you get one, because when doing this paint overs, it's much easier with a tablet than doing it with a mouse. And if I wanted to do the break off that I kind of had in the one that you saw in the intro, you could always do another one of these. I'm actually going to duplicate, go to my mask, and we're going to switch that around. Let me see where it is. There you go. So we can find it here, rotate it. Rotate our light. And you can see that's a piece that's actually breaking off from the ground where it should be. That really helps changing out the overall look of this column, and that way it's just a different way where you can use your Megascan assets. You don't have to use the Megascan assets right out of the box. You can always switch them around like I did, and you see that that didn't take me a long time, and you pretty much have a brand new asset that you could use in another setting. All right, everybody, that is it for this video. How to do some changes on your 3D Megascan assets so you don't have to use them right out of the box. There's an easy and quick way to get another kind of asset from the same 3D model that you would get from the Megascan library. Please leave a like and share this video around. That really helps out the channel. And I have a question for you. Which one would you prefer, stylized or realistic? I'm thinking of doing some stylized videos here in Mixer and inside Unreal Engine. So let me know which one you prefer down in the comments down below. And as always, let me know which kind of tutorials you want to see here on the channel. This is actually something that a subscriber asked me if I could do a tutorial on how to customize Megascan assets. So yeah, any ideas that you have for tutorials, I'm all ears. I'll always like to hear your suggestions, your tips, and I'll see you in the next video.